Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It is just awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video I wanted to take a close look at the Xbox Crystal, the limited edition pack. And the reason why, because I purchased myself a pretty damn new machine. Okay, the Xbox Classic, I just must be honest with you guys, I just have a special place in my heart for an Xbox Classic. And the reason why is very simple. The Xbox Classic, even in 2021, you can do so many great things. So I came across this edition, but this is not our typical Xbox. No, this one has been modified and have improved in many ways. So what you can do with this is just crazy, and therefore I wanted to make this video for you guys. Nevertheless, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell, become one of the Wicked family, and let's go with the show. So recently I bought myself a completely new Crystal Xbox, and there is a reason why I did this. So the Crystal Xbox is one I wanted to have in my collection in a very good condition. With or without box, it doesn't even matter, to be honest with me. But I want to have this one because I have some different retro game consoles in some custom cases, and this thing is just perfect in my collection. But there were some other things with this machine. But to begin with, the controller itself comes also in more like translucent or transparent casing, and I do like it. Sadly, with my controller there is a tiny gap out of my joystick, and this just happens due of the rubber that's becoming very old, and it's just a common problem with these controllers. But the joysticks can be replaced with Xbox 360 joysticks that you can buy very cheaply on AliExpress. But what is a really cool fact that you can see the rumble motors moving inside the controller. But okay, so let's take a close look at the console itself, and also we're going to do a teardown. So the translucent case isn't just an amazing piece of hardware even now in 2021. There are some different colors out there. So in quick example, we're having the black edition that was more like the original version, then we're having the translucent, the crystal edition, and we have the green crystal. There is also a blue version, and we have having a transparent black edition. They call it the skeleton. Nevertheless, there are some even more rarer versions out there I've personally never seen for sale, and if they will be for sale in the future, they will be crazy expensive. But I just love how this machine looks, and still for a translucent case in my region here in Europe, they are very easy to find, and for a decent amount of money, even a complete in box. So as you can see that we're having now the EO shielding. Basically that's what you're going to get with this device. You can remove the EO shielding if you want to, I would not say do that. Combination with the Bitfunks HDMI adapter, you can even use an Xbox nowadays on your LCD display. And what I do like about the Xbox Classic, that you can use this machine on 1080i. Not P, but I. But nevertheless, it looks amazing with some games. And that is why I love the Xbox Classic too. Because even nowadays you can play it on higher resolution, higher than the PlayStation 2. There are some different ways you can go through. This is just the Bitfunks plug and play device. You can also use a component cable or use a component cable with an upscaler to 1080p. Okay, but this is what you're going to get when it comes to the signal, and there are some different brands out there. So far I know Bitfunks, Kaiko, most of them are basically the same, and we'll get the same result. But plug in your HDMI cable on this side, and the other end have just the original cable from your Xbox, plug it in your machine, and you're just ready to go. Super easy to use, but take consideration if you're going to use this and you want to reach the 1080i, you're having a pulse system like this version, you need to modify it and use Enigma for switching to a different region so you can unlock the 1080i. Okay, so let's plug everything in and let's play some games and show you what you can do with this mini machine. Because with XBMC for gamers, this is one of the many, let's say, launchers that you can get, and this one looks pretty awesome. But XBMC, you're going to get this really nice fancy menu. So what you can see that they were having now all more like these tiny boxes. It will contain the emulators. And what I do like about this old bad boy, and I mean with the Xbox Classic, you can even play up to PlayStation 1. But that's something we're going to take a close look at it later, because it's not perfect. We have a secondary menu. With the secondary menu you can choose applications, demos, emulator, games and homebrew. And yes, there is some homebrew here and there. There's not a lot, but the games you can play are pretty cool in my opinion, like Wolfenstein 3D and Duke Nukem. Okay, so with the applications, we have quite some different options. There are a lot of applications installed. So the Enigma I already mentioned with the region switcher, XB partition if you need to do some messing around in the partitions. But DVD to Xbox is one of my favorites, because what you can do, basically you can back up your original games on your Xbox and basically archive them like this. So if you're familiar with Hyperspin, we also have a Hyperspin called Hypervision for the Xbox Classic. And I must say, for a very old system that's basically more similar like a Pentium 3, it runs pretty smooth. And all the visual effects looks very nice. And it's not very convenient if you want to put a lot of games in it, but it looks just fancy. And as you can see, we're having a lot of different games you can play, like really old classics. Another way we can go is the coin-op software. It looks kind of basic. At the right we're having this tiny preview picture, and left side having a gigantic list where different packs out there, like the light, the gold, and even the massive. Or you can just basically make this thing yourself. But I find very interesting that a lot of these old games still run pretty good on a very old Xbox. Where a Pi can get some games to work, the Xbox Classic has no problem whatsoever. Many of these freaking Pandora's boxes of nowadays have a problem with Mortal Kombat 1, but the Xbox Classic has no problem whatsoever. But most of the old stuff runs just fine. But when you're going to get to the PlayStation part, or it's just emulator problem in combination with the hardware, or it's just pushing the hardware to the limit. But I find this game run not super smooth and in combination with some audio issues. And this is basically with every single game, or the game doesn't even boot up when it comes to PlayStation 1. So another great feature is when you're having your games back up to your hard drive, you're having a very quick load times. So that is one thing, and combined with the 1080i and this new cable, we're having a crisp, clear image on your HD television. I can say it is really cool. Alright, so let's do a quick teardown. I wanted to show you on the inside what have been changed out, because this machine I've bought was completely modified. So to begin with, it came with the Philips DVD drive, one of my favorite because it loads up the games very fast and even with some scratches on it. It also comes with a 2TB Seagate Barracuda disc. As you can see over here, we're having a converter because the disc 2TB were never made in EDA, but only in SATA. So with the SATA drive, they needed a converter to EDA. But there are many ways you can basically upgrade your Xbox Classic with a hard drive. You can also grab yourself, let's say an 80 or 500 EDA, because there are maybe some out there. But of course the convenience with a new drive is that we're going to get a new drive, and most of the time EDA drives are quite old. The Philips DVD drive, there are different versions like Samsung and some Chinese version that I really hate because they have problems in the end with reading the discs. So here we're going to get the CPU and the GPU. It's always highly recommended to change out the thermal paste, simply because otherwise it can get really hot in the inside. There are also different versions when it comes to the mainboard. This is the latest version, the 1.6 edition, that I recall it correctly, because the begin version had quite some issues like leaking condensators and some minor issues with the power supplies. But this board looks amazing. He cleaned it all up when I purchased this from him. But you can see there was already one thing he changed out. And there's not a thermal paste with the CPU and the GPU, but that is of course the mod chip. This machine comes with a mod chip. That is one of the ways you can basically use an Xbox. The Open Xenium open source chip has been used inside this machine. And some of these machines come with a fan inside, and what you're going to get with is some of their freaking vacuum cleaners, and some, like this one, is very silent. So even in 2021, the Xbox Classic is still a retro emulation monster when it comes to emulation and official Xbox Classic games. So yeah, let me know in the comments, do you own an original Xbox Classic and which version do you own? I want to thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing, hit the bell, become one of the Wicked family, and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video.